Hello dear friends, I'm Marina, and in this video we're going to talk about Mercury retrograde. That's one of the most popular topics in astrology. Everyone is so interested in learning more about those periods. Why are they so important? Why sometimes we are afraid of them? And actually how to prepare. Now, in this case, the time frame is from the 22nd of March until the 15th of April. This is the exact time when Mercury will be retrograde. During the whole period, Mercury is only in Aries. We are also going to talk about some predictions about the 12 signs and how this transit can affect you personally. But before that, we need some general information. Now, a very brief reminding about the meaning of Mercury retrograde. Basically, this is the time when it looks like the planet is moving backwards. And this is an illusion because in the skies it's not happening, but that's how we are seeing it from our perspective from the Earth. And that's what's important. The way we see things is actually the way that we are influenced. So we are really paying attention on that, even though it's only an illusion, even though it's not happening in the skies. Usually these events happen approximately 3 or 4 times a year for approximately 3 weeks. And the main thing which we need to remember is that there might be some kind of complications in the areas which are related to Mercury. Nowadays, these are so many things, basically everything which includes communication and knowledge, connection with people, contracts, travelings, negotiations, all kinds of plans, basically so many things, including technology, they're all related to Mercury. So the most important we should remember is that during Mercury retrograde, we should avoid starting completely new things. And when I say completely new things, of course, I'm talking about something important, like, for example, starting a new job or signing an important contract, or maybe buying a property or anything which is really important to you and you want it to be long-lasting. Please avoid those stuff during Mercury retrograde. If you really need to do some of those things, then pay some extra attention, because things related to information may also be complicated or messed up in some way. So it's possible that you may not be aware of the whole situation, or things might change afterwards. That's something very typical for Mercury retrograde. If you do something important during this period, after the period ends, you may change your mind. For example, if you have bought some kind of, something which is expensive, something which is important, after this period you may realize that it's not what you have expected, or you don't really need that. So a general advice: don't buy important and expensive things. Now, another thing which is important also, we mentioned that the exact time is from the 22nd of March until the 15th of April, but there is something else. There is a period which is called a shadow zone. Basically, this is before the retrograde period, and actually this is the time or the place of the zodiac which Mercury will go through for 3 times. So basically the period starts before that. In our concrete case, the shadow period starts from the 8th of March. And it doesn't mean that you should start avoiding everything important after the 8th of March, but keep in mind that some of the things which you plan or do may need to be reconsidered after, maybe during the Mercury retrograde period or even after that. So from the 8th of March until the 22nd of March, we are in the shadow zone. Then from the 22nd of March until the 15th of April, we are in the exact retrograde period. And after the 15th of April until the 4th of May, we have the last period. Basically, this is the 3rd time when Mercury will go through the same decrease. So the general period is from the 22nd of March until the 4th of May. The zodiac degrees which Mercury will be retrograde in are from the 17th degree of Aries until the 5th degree of Aries. So basically the beginning of the shadow zone on the 8th of March is when Mercury is on the 5th degree in Aries for the first time. Then it moves direct to the 17th degree. On the 22nd of March, Mercury turns retrograde on this exact degree, the 17th degree in Aries. Then until the 15th of April, it returns back to the 5th degree of Aries. And the last time it will go through the same degrees, it's already moving direct, and it will go through the final degree, the 17th degree, on the 4th of May. Now, it may sound a little complicated. You don't really have to, remember all of those stuff. Actually, you can see some of the important dates should be here in a table. I hope you can see it. So just remember, the exact retrograde period is from the 22nd of March until the 15th of April, but the shadow zone starts a little bit before that. So we just need to keep in mind that some of those things might be changed afterwards. Now, another thing which we should know about this transit is that there are no air planets during this time. There are no planets in air signs during the retrograde period. Air as an element is related to communication, ideas, exchange. Mercury is related to that. So it can make the situation even more difficult when we have Mercury retrograde and at the same time there are no planets in air signs. So the communication might be really difficult during this time. So pay attention on that, keep that in mind, and just, prepare that people may not be capable of understanding each other. So that's why the communication is difficult. So if you can avoid the important negotiations, then please do that. If not, just keep in mind that you have to be very clear about the things that you want, about what you are saying to people, about, your work, everything, because, the communication is not so smooth. Also, as we already said, it's not a positive time to sign new contracts or start a new job or anything which is, very, very important to you. What's positive to do is to reconsider some of your plans, make some changes, reevaluate your plans, or set some new priorities. So basically looking at the past, maybe changing something, maybe correction of something, that's something positive. The other thing you can do is also restart something old. If you had some kind of project or idea that you were focused on, but you have, forgotten about it, or it didn't work well for you, now you can restart those things. So basically, this is the positive manifestation of Mercury retrograde. Now, another thing which we need to know is also the aspects that Mercury will make. Basically, we have a conjunction between Mercury retrograde with the Sun, which will be around the 1st and the 2nd of April. And this is the time when we might be extremely active intellectually. Now, remember that when Mercury is very close to the Sun, within less than 3 degrees, Mercury becomes burned by the Sun. And usually it's more difficult to realize some things. We might be too subjective. We might be incapable of realizing something, but not so productive. This is a great time for some self-analysis or, analyzing your past. But remember that it's still a time when your decisions may not be, as you would like them to be. I mean that you can change your mind afterwards. You might be in some way confused about what you should do. So just, take your time. Don't push yourself too much because, those type of decisions, they won't be permanent probably. And the other aspects which are extremely important and unfortunately challenging are the squares between Mercury retrograde and Mars and Saturn, which are in Capricorn. Now, both Mars and Saturn will be very, very close in Capricorn. They will make conjunction with each other. And at the same time, Mercury retrograde will square them. Now, let me give you the exact time. So, around the 4th, 5th and 6th of April we have those exact squares. But keep in mind that we may feel the influence even a little bit before and after that. But specifically on these days, we need to be very, very careful with everything that we are doing. Communication might be extremely difficult. People might be, you know, very suspicious. People can be more aggressive. People may say things which are insulting others. So generally, if you can, please avoid the important connections, communications, everything you can possibly do during those few days. Also, while you're traveling, you need to pay extra attention because Mars is a planet which can bring possible accidents. So generally, I think that this will be the more tensious period during the retrograde phase of Mercury, basically, when we have the squares with Mars and Saturn. And Mars and Saturn are both very strong in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, Saturn rules the sign, so they may really be, you know, negatively influencing Mercury. And that's not good for our communication and for our plans and everything. So just pay extra attention during this time. Now, who will be influenced mostly by this transit? Well, of course, if you have any planet, especially if that's your sun, or if you have your ascendant from the 5th degree to the 17th degree of Aries, then it's gonna be a very important period for you. These are the people which will feel the strongest impact of this transit. The other cardinal signs may also be challenged, and these are Capricorn, Cancer and Libra, especially if you have planets in the same degrees, between the 5th and the 17th degree. You can feel challenged, you can feel, you know, there might be some kind of difficulties for you, so pay extra attention. Now, let's say a few words about each of the zodiac signs so you know how to be prepared. You can listen both to your sun and ascendant sign, and keep in mind the ascendant sign might be more accurate, especially if you know exactly in which house Mercury will transit, which planets will be aspected, or are there, you know, any major other events which Mercury retrograde is triggering. Then this is how you will get the whole picture. Now, for Aries, of course, this will be extremely important phase. For Aries, Mercury is retrograde in their 1st house, which means that it affects their personality, their decisions, their actions, their behavior, plans, basically everything. So, dear Aries, please be careful, avoid important new steps. Instead, try to reconsider your past or analyze maybe some of the mistakes, maybe change some of your plans. And after this period, you can start a new beginning with maybe completely new goals. So for Aries, that's a very, very important period for their personal plans, actions, behavior, connections, basically everything. For Taurus, the Mercury retrograde will be in 12th house, so the influence may not be so visible on an outer level. It might be a very introspective period when you can analyze your past, you can think about the past, and you may prefer, you know, to spend more time on your own. 12th house is also related to secrets, so when Mercury is retrograde there, you may know about some information which you haven't been aware of before, and sometimes it might be about, you know, secrets of other people, or maybe some of your secrets, or just, you know, you may realize some important things which are very important for you. Next, for Gemini, of course, Mercury retrograde is always important because that's the ruler of your sign, and in this case Mercury is retrograde in your 11th house, so it affects your communication with other people, with friends, with communities, your ideals and the causes that you are fighting for. In those areas you can change something, things may not work as you have expected, and you may need, you know, to find some new directions in terms of these areas of your life. Next we have Cancer. For Cancer, Mercury is retrograde in 10th house, so it's about career. Definitely that's not a positive time for new career projects, signing new contracts, starting a new job. that should be avoided if you want it to be something long lasting. Also, some of your projects may require to be reconsidered, and you may need to make changes in terms of your social goals. Next, we have Leo. For Leo, the influence of Mercury retrograde might be a little bit more positive because there will be a trine between Mercury retrograde and their own sign. Mercury will be in 9th house, so that's a great time actually to think about your future goals and maybe change some of them. Maybe you haven't thought about something and now you really need to plan all of those things that you would like to achieve. When it comes to education or traveling, you need to pay extra attention because things may not work so smoothly as usual or as you would like them to work. Next, we have Virgo. Now, for Virgo, Mercury is also important because it's the ruler of their sign as well, so they can feel it stronger. Also, Mercury will be retrograde in 8th house, so that's a more complicated position. 8th house is one of the more challenging houses, so prepare for some things which are beyond your control, especially in terms of emotions. You know, some things might come up which, you know, are related more to your unconscious mind, and from a more practical perspective, it could be something related to your resources and finances, especially mutual resources and finances. It could be your partner's money, or, you know, your husband or your wife's money, but things may not work so well. So also I would recommend you to avoid investments. This is not a beneficial time to invest money in new projects. Okay, next we have Libra. For Libra, Mercury is retrograde in 7th house. So this affects their personal relationships, their communication with their closest people. Also, things related to clients. If you work with clients, you have to be careful. Now, keep in mind that it's more challenging to negotiate. People may not be capable of understanding you. So it's definitely not a positive time for new dates, or if you would like to get married, I would absolutely recommend you to avoid those periods. And all kinds of contracts which are related to partnerships should also be avoided during this time. Next, for Scorpio, Mercury will be retrograde in 6th house. So Scorpio should be really careful when it comes to their work. Definitely not a positive time for new career projects or signing new contracts, or even for business trips. This is not a beneficial time. And generally you have to be careful. Communication with co-workers may also be not so smooth. And of course, don't forget that 6th house is also related to our health. So you may need to pay attention on that area of your life, or maybe, you know, change your therapy or change your doctor. This is actually something positive which you can do. Also, if you are not happy with your work, this can be actually a positive time to quit your job. So quitting old things is positive during Mercury retrograde. Just wait before you begin the new stuff. Next, we have Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, Mercury is retrograde in 5th house. This is a more positive position because we have trine between Aries and Sagittarius. And you should be careful mostly with your personal life. When it comes to love and dates and, you know, your partners, you should avoid new beginnings. Now, what's positive is actually to call your ex, or, you know, you can meet someone who has been your partner, or maybe you have been in love together, and this is something which, you know, can be positive, and you can restart those relationships and connections, but just avoid the new beginnings if that's possible. Also, things related to your children may require more attention, may require some changes in the plans, or general about everything that you really love. You need to, you know, maybe change some of your perspectives, change some of your plans. And next we have Capricorn. My dear friends, Capricorn, they have the Mercury retrograde in their 4th house. So that's a time when you need to be careful with property issues, with family communication, and all kinds of decisions which are related to your home and the place where you are living. I would definitely recommend you to avoid buying new property or even moving to a new place to live, because probably it will be something temporary. If that's what you want, then it's perfectly fine. But if you want to live somewhere for a longer period, then Mercury retrograde in 4th house, not the best period. Also, this is a positive time for you to change something, maybe in your home, in decoration, furniture, anything which you are changing is actually positive. And next we have Aquarius. For Aquarius, Mercury is retrograde in 3rd house. So it's really about communications and connections with others, including with neighbors, including with people that you meet on a daily basis, maybe your siblings or some friends. The communication is not smooth. Also, please avoid new contracts. Anything which is related to documents also may not be positive, or you can forget something, or you can make a mistake with information, with technology. So just pay extra attention. And also don't forget about the traveling. If you have planned to travel somewhere, please check everything, your documents, maybe your passports, the reservation, the plane tickets, everything, because you can forget something or something may not work as you have planned. And always remember that with Mercury retrograde, delays are something very typical. So especially when Mercury is in your 3rd house, you have to be prepared for that. And lastly, we have Pisces. For Pisces, Mercury is retrograde in 2nd house. So this is mostly about your resources, including your money. Now, don't take important financial decisions. Don't invest money in something new. And if you can, please avoid buying new stuff, especially if that's something expensive and important. It might be different from what you have expected. It may break, it may not work properly, or you may realize that you just didn't need that right now. So if that's possible, please wait until Mercury becomes direct. So these were the most important things we needed to talk about Mercury retrograde. Now remember the time frame. Now the shadow zone starts from the 8th of March until the 22nd. Mercury is retrograde from the 22nd of March until the 15th of April. And then from the 15th of April until the 4th of May, we have the last time when things might be solved, when things might be repaired, and basically things are moving forward. And please don't get too scared about Mercury. After all, this is something which is happening 3-4 times each year. So more or less we are used to this energy. It's not so dramatic, it's not so scary. We just need to be prepared for that. So if you have any questions, or if you want a personal report or maybe a full birth chart analysis, you can go to my website or check the link in the description below. I will be happy to answer your questions or, make your personal horoscope. Otherwise, that's the most important things, and I will see you very soon.